Today on Shift Happens, I'm joined by the talented Monica Linda, the founder of Girl Squad Media, a photography and videography company that's revolutionizing how women are seen and heard in media. We'll explore how her early years shaped her perspective on the world and her future as a creative entrepreneur. In this episode, Monica shares how her love for photography sparked the creation of Girl Squad Media and how she took risks and faced challenges to turn her passion into a thriving business. We'll also dive into the lessons she's learned along the way, including what beliefs she's had to unlearn and what she's currently healing from. Monica, welcome to Shift Happens. So happy you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So little background, me and Monica met, well, we've been following each other on Instagram, but we met at a mastermind, formerly Expanders. And then we became friends, and I'm so honored to have you here today to get to not only know your amazing company and share that with everybody. Oh my gosh, everybody. I cannot talk today, everybody. But I wanted to get to know you more, the woman behind the business. And I think so many times as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as creatives, we don't share that side of us. And so I want you to take us back and I want to get to know little Monica. So what was a part of your childhood that came to mind when I say little Monica? Can you bring us into that?
Yeah. So the part that takes me right back to is probably 5. Mm-hmm. 3 to 5 is probably the time that I probably can have the most memories. Mm. And I was like an outside child.
Really?
Like I really loved being outside all the time. I was don't wear your shoes, super messy. My hair was really short.
Okay.
My mom probably worried that I was going to be bald my whole life. Like I didn't, and for especially being Mexican, she was really having a heart attack.
Yeah. She's like, your hair needs to be long.
Oh yeah.
And luscious.
And I didn't have any hair probably till I was around 4 is when it started to grow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now I have all of this.
Yeah. And if you can't see her, she has hair now. It's not short. No, yeah. Okay. And so what did you like doing outside? Just like anything? Were you into sports or just nature, or you were just like running amok?
Well, I grew up in Texas.
Okay.
So I grew up outside. I loved to play alone.
Wow.
Little did I know it was like just my personality. Uh-huh. I had imaginary friends. I would just lose track of time.
Wow.
I played with Barbies a lot. Uh-huh. I played with my brother's G.I. Joes, which he hated because I thought they were like miniature babies. Yeah. And he'd be like, they're grown men.
Yeah. This is my baby.
I'm like, this is my little Barbie baby. But I loved to be outside. And I was a talker. I would talk to myself all the time. I would sit and like just chit chat. I found the company of myself very entertaining.
I seriously love that.
But I have siblings. Yeah. I have 2 older siblings and a little brother. But I just found myself playing alone quite a bit. But I was always a really good integrator.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the middle child part of me. Mm-hmm. So I would play with my cousins really well. I had best friends, But if you were like, where would I rather be? It's probably alone.
Wow. Okay. So would you say you're more introverted then?
I would say I'm more introverted.
Wow, it's so funny because every time I like hang out with you, I feel like you're so. I mean, I think so many times we think introversion means like not bubbly, but I just look at you as like I'm here and I'm bubbly and I'm like here and I'm happy. And I don't know if I have like a misconception of introverts where you're just like shy and reserved.
No, quiet. I have a business personality. There's like a business.
Yeah.
This is what I kind of have to
be
to
do this
in order to like talk to people. They have to know what I do. So I have to kind of just turn that part of me on.
And then you're like, bye, peace out. I'm going to my room and I'm like not talking to anyone.
1,000%.
Okay.
I'm
you like to recharge.
I'll recharge. And that means like silence, no music, take a shower, don't talk to the next morning.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That is opposite of me. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, as I'm getting older, I'm finding that I'm becoming less extroverted, which is so interesting. But I am extroverted. I do feed off people's energies. Like if they are like fun and they're like out, I'm like, okay, you're going out? Okay, I'll go out too, I guess.
Yeah.
Like we'll go out together. Like I get easily like in with people if they're doing something fun.
I feel like I'm somewhere the best of both worlds because I think because I'm in the middle, I would hang out with my siblings' friends.
Yeah.
And then was still able to be a quiet girl at the same time. I could like turn it on and off.
Yeah.
I don't know what that makes me, but
you're like,
I am a Libra.
You're like both.
I am a Libra. So
what was your home life like? Like, how would you describe it when we are, thinking not just physically, but emotionally? And I'm specifically talking about like with your parents.
Yeah. So I feel like this is where it can get a little murky.
That's
right?
okay. Yeah.
Like, my mom is still alive.
You know what? You know what's funny is the interview before you, she was saying, listen, I love my mom, but this is this experience. Like I love my parents, but this is this, because we have our experiences. And my dad too, like on the podcast, I'm sure he listens to it and cringe. I'm so open,
Yeah.
And I have to say like, Dad, but this is my story.
That's
I love you, but this is also my story.
That's right.
So
That's
if that
right.
gives you any, I don't know,
yes,
help.
it does. No, I grew up in a mobile home in Texas. My my dad's a business owner, owned a body shop. So my dad's a very blue collar worker. My mom was always a stay-at-home mom until there was one point where she did have like a taco stand.
Oh, wow. Tacos?
Tacos. Texas tacos are
Actually,
very different than California tacos.
I know.
Hands
My brother lives in Texas.
Oh. And I grew up in Austin.
Okay.
So my mom did that for a while. And then my parents were like, we want you to be a stay-at-home mom. So she quit her job and then became a stay-at-home mom. So I feel that my life as a child was a little disruptive. And maybe that's why I played a lot. There was just a lot of things happening to my parents at the time that I was born. Like my mom was in the middle of, my dad was an addict. And how does she had 2 kids and a third one on the way. She wanted him to change. He didn't want to. She was on the brink of divorce.
Yep.
So I was brought, my mom went through a lot of trauma while she was pregnant with me. So I was like birthed into this transition, this chaos that was happening in her life. Like she was about to divorce her husband.
Yeah.
And during that time, and she was also really young. Like my mother got married at 14. Like
what?
Yeah, she was really,
wow,
really young. So by the time she had me, I think she was 22, 23. So I can't imagine having 3 kids and doing all that. So I feel like I was birthed into a lot of just disruption. And as time has gone along, things got calmer, but I feel like I was brought up in an era like that. And there was a lot of chaos in the family too.
So when there's these moments of chaos, or your dad was struggling with addiction, or there was potential divorce, what would be a moment in your childhood that shaped some of the stories that you believed about yourself?
Well, I feel like because what can happen, I think, when your parents are distracted, there's just maybe things that people don't pay attention to. So I was physically abused when I was a kid. So I feel that there was, well, let's just back up. I was sexually abused and physically abused at the same time. So there was a lot of that happened really early in my life. So it hasn't been until probably the last 10 years that I've done a lot of unraveling and figuring out how that ties into who I am now. And doing a lot of work on that.
Because we stuff that. We don't want to confront those types of painful memories, but then they come up into other areas of our life. And that's when we have to say, okay, we have to do that work. We have to do that healing work.
Yeah. And I feel like it actually happened for me when I was 10 is when I told my parents what had happened. And my parents were really young and didn't know what to do. So they did nothing.
How do they receive it? So you're sitting there, you're 10. Okay. I have an 11-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to your parents. How did you feel? Were you scared to tell them?
I was terrified. I was actually in my room, bawling my eyes out. And my mom came in, asked what was going on. And I told her. And she said, I need you to tell your dad. So I walked into their room. And we had like this really long, like, when you're that young, like, and for me, because I'm such a creative, I could just remember what the hallway looked like, what the light looked like. So I remember walking down the hallway, and the only light in the house, because it was late at night, everyone was asleep. Walking down the hallway, my parents' bedroom light was on, and they had these steps that go into their room, and I sat on the step, and then my mom woke my dad up because it must have been the middle of the night and said, she has something to tell you. And then I don't remember what happened.
Really?
All I remember is my dad turned around, went back to sleep, and the light turned off. And I stood up and walked myself back to my room.
Do you think he responded, or do you not think he responded?
I've had this conversation with him because I've been in like deep therapy and work with it. And he actually doesn't remember it happening at all. He himself doesn't remember it happening at all.
Wow. The conversation even?
The conversation doesn't remember it. And I feel like it was traumatic. It was traumatic for me. It was traumatic for him.
Wow.
So there was like, he doesn't remember it happening. He's, honors and respects that I'm saying it. And my mom's story is that she thought he would take care of it. So there was a lot of just I think they were disoriented. I think they were just checked out. They didn't know what to do. And I was talking to my therapist about it recently because it's recently started to come up. And what I learned at 10 was just that I was the only person responsible for myself.
Yep.
I learned it.
Yeah.
I learned it really fast, that there wasn't anybody in the world who was ever going to take care of me the way that I was going to take care of me. And I got it. And I just felt like I've lived through that filter. Probably, I mean, I've even till now, I'm literally the only person who's gonna watch out for me.
Is that connected with trusting people?
Yeah, it does. It actually can keep me from having deep relationships with people, like going really deep, or keeping people for a long period of time. Because
they are going to fail me. I will not be able to trust them to actually show up for me.
Yeah. And then
so I have to do that myself.
I have to do it myself, or that I feel like I have to do everything myself. I have to supply for myself. I have to love myself. Like literally there's just this huge amount of burden that comes from just having to take care of myself. So I've had to learn how to like talk to people.
Try to let people in, but also show up for you.
Yeah. Because there is a level that I do have to take care of myself. That's absolutely a true statement. Yeah. But there's also like, it's okay to let people love you too.
So do you find it hard to ask for help?
Sometimes. Sometimes I do. But I feel like I've gotten pretty good at when it gets too dark or too lonely, that I always feel like there's a spiritual part because I did grow up in a spiritual family, a Christian family. So I do feel like there's always this sense that even though I feel like I'm really going to mess it up, that God really does, or the Holy Spirit or Jesus or the source really does show up for me.
Yeah.
And is always watching out.
Has you covered.
Yeah.
Despite.
Yeah. I feel like I'm somewhat anointed in a way. And I kind of lean on that I'm never going to take it too far where I'm not being watched out for.
How did you reconcile? Because I didn't know that about your upbringing. About
I've actually never talked about it.
Really?
You asked the question.
I know. Well, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
How did you reconcile what happened to you with then God looking out for you? Because I hear you saying, well, God's going to look out for me. I grew up in a Christian household, and then this you had this very traumatic experience. How did that make sense to you? Does that make sense? Do you go right about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I think I've always felt that they were two separate issues. I've never felt that God was responsible or that that he was not watching out for me. I feel like there are things that happen in this world that I don't have to make sense of it.
Yeah. I
just can't. I think there's greater things at play that I don't know the answer to, and I don't always have to know.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine what it would feel like on top of feeling unworthy at times to just be a human, to add the layer of God punishing you. How much harder that would be. So I've never felt that way about either one of them.
No, I think that's beautiful, because I think a lot of times bad things will happen, right, in life.
Yeah.
And it's easy for people to either blame God or say, well, if God is real, then he wouldn't allow that to happen. And especially when it's things concerning children.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But like you said, like we live in a world where things happen that we cannot make sense of everything. And so I definitely agree. And I can understand that to many levels. Now, when we fast forward into your adult life, right? Are you you hit on this, but are you now do you like are you still struggling with that incident in your like intimacy, like in romantic relationships today?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question.
Like, does it
because
pop up?
it actually pops up every once in a while. It'll pop up at a really weird time. Like we could be wanting to just be more intimate or be or deeper in the relationship. And I find myself checking out, not wanting to do it or not. And then I'm like, what is going on? Like I've been in a loving relationship for a really long time. And then I just realized that it's just layers that pop up. Sometimes the love wants to grow deeper and I want to not let that happen. So I'll maybe sabotage it or do things. But yeah, it actually does come up. But this is why it's really great. Like I've gone to therapy with my partner to talk about it.
Yeah.
So when these things happen, how do I ask her to help me through it?
How do you navigate it? How do
you navigate?
team?
What do I say?
How do we team together?
How do we team? And I will literally have to say, I just need a second. I'm having a flashback.
Yeah.
Just give me a few minutes to reground myself. Because I mean, I feel like I may suffer from that disorientation probably for the rest of my life. But when it shows up, you know, I like to, I feel safe enough to have that conversation with her.
Yeah. And that is so important.
Yeah.
Is the safety
part.
aspect of it.
Yeah.
You know, because we're, you know, I don't believe we're ever fully healed in this world.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we're on a journey of healing, and I feel like we're on a journey of self-discovery. I just feel like life is a journey until, you know, we don't have this life anymore. And then I believe that like then we're fully healed. But I just I think that it is having the tools then to cope and to cope well and to have safe people that you can go to. And if that's your partner, if that's community, having that is so important, because what I think happens is we start stuffing or we put it out of our brain. We don't want to think about those things because they're hard and they hurt.
Yeah.
But if we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and share with those closest to us, then healing does take place and moments of healing. And some days are harder than others. You wake up one day, nothing's an issue. The next day it is. And we just have to continue to be on that journey of healing.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it could be exhausting.
It is exhausting, you know? Sometimes. There are some times that I'm like, I mean, I wish this wasn't my burden to carry. Like, I really wish that things would have been different.
Yeah.
And I'm in a current place where I just feel like there isn't a silver lining for everything. I just think things happen. And then I think,
what about the way you look at it?
The way I look at it, like in therapy this morning, my therapist was talking about how like when jealousy may occur or when fear may occur, to just identify that the fear is here and that I don't have to know why, how can I get rid of it? And there's something about that that's been really helping me just make space for all the things that show up that are very unexpected most of the time.
Yeah.
And how like our emotions are like waves.
Yeah.
And they're going to be up and down the rest of my life. Like I'm never going to have just highs and just lows.
Yeah. You're
and
right.
so I would love to learn how to ride those waves of just like, I'm great and it sucks at the same time.
When you were young, and I'm trying to figure out where this started, you were talking about you're out and you're always talking to yourself and you're in nature. Were you always creative? Like, did you have an eye for creativity, or did that come later?
I feel like I've always been a seeker of light. Like I've always seen, and I thought up until like maybe a couple of years ago that everybody saw the sun
the same way.
That I literally thought, like, how can you not see the light coming through that way? But I feel like I've always just seen that way. And I feel like because I feel that my childhood felt dark, somewhat dark for me, that I was always attracted to the mystery and the magic of just even production, artificial light, real light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always really been attracted to it.
That makes sense. That makes sense for what you would do with photography and videography.
Yeah.
So where was the point in your professional career, or not even a professional career at this point, right? Just getting you into the door of photography. Like, what did that look like? Were you just playing around with your camera one day? You were like, I'm going to pick up like, how did that happen?
I was actually in a really dark place, super depressed. Was on a leave of work, couldn't function, couldn't get out of bed, was really, really bad. To where my wife said, either you get help or we just can't be married.
Wow.
Right? Like it was that bad.
Yeah.
And she helped walk me into a psychiatrist, a therapist, and started doing the work. And then my therapist was like, let's just find something that brings you joy. And then I feel like this is where the community part, or that anointed part, that God part of me, well, like angels will go ahead of me. And my friends, we happened to be at dinner and they were like, how are you? And I decided to be vulnerable. Was like, guys, I need to find something that brings me joy. And my friends were like, let's take a photography class. They were like, let's take a photography class.
That's
and they were
so
like, and of course we're like super hard. So they're like, let's learn film, right? Let's make it even harder. Let's not learn DSLR. Let's make it really hard. Super competitive. So we started doing that. And that's literally, I picked up a camera and then my teacher was like, have you thought about taking more classes? You were really good at the beginning. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So, and then I just took more and more and more. That's literally how I fell into it.
Alexis here. I'm just popping in to ask you, have you been through something painful and felt like your story could help someone else, but you're not quite sure where to start? I want to help you unpack your journey, find your voice, and turn your story into purpose that heals you and empowers others. Click the link in the show notes below to learn how to start sharing your story with boldness and clarity. And now, back to another impactful story. Well, isn't it crazy that sometimes the darkest parts of our life is what ultimately brings the biggest light?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
I love that. It's a great transformation. So at what point did that become a career?
It became a career for me. It was in 2015 is when I was like, oh my God, I love this. Yeah. I'm having so much fun. And I was at a birthday party and a friend of mine gave me an envelope with cash in it as a tip. Because she was like, will you photograph my birthday? Can I pay? And I was like, no, don't pay me. Like, I'll do it for free. I'm just having fun, you know? So she gave me an envelope with cash and I had a job. I was making my boss millions of dollars. Then she handed me the cash and my worlds collided. And I said, wait a minute, I could do this for myself. The same skill that I was using to make my boss millions of dollars while he was on an island somewhere was the exact same skill that I needed to do for myself. And I said, I'm giving myself a year. 2015, I quit my job in 2016. Yeah. And then, here we are almost 10 years later.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, in the creative field, I know that there's so many times as a creative myself, right, where we can start to question, can we really make it? Can we really be successful as a creative? What would you say to other creatives that might be doubting their ability right now to make that money?
People tell you to have a plan B. I say, don't have one.
Right? Because
literally don't.
Because then it's almost like you fall back. You're like, okay, well, that's a safety net.
Yes.
Right? And then you don't go all in.
Yes.
Right?
I said, there is only one way. And I think that somewhat of what happened to me as a child forced me to also be really good at being an entrepreneur because I learned to survive on my own. Like I didn't rely on not an ounce of help from anyone else. Like succeeding was ultimately going to be everything that I did was going to have to work.
Yeah. And that is really you using your childhood pain.
Yep.
Honestly, for success.
Yeah.
What about in your journey, if there was a rejection or a failure that happened that actually was, if now looking back at it, was a redirection? And I'm more specifically in the professional aspect.
I've kind of always been okay.
You're like, I've never been redirected. I've never.
No, I get redirected all the time.
Just kidding.
And I know you are. I know you're kidding. I get redirected all the time, but I just really feel that it just always ends up being better somehow. I almost feel like the first time it doesn't work, it's better the second time. Maybe I'm delusional. I don't know. I just feel like the right people are going to show up at the right time. I almost feel like the opposite happens where sometimes I'll say yes when I should have said no.
Yeah. I do that too. Yeah.
That usually messes me up than you doing it first.
Yep. No, I could totally relate. To that. I think too, sometimes, I guess I don't like to call them failures as much as I like to call them like a learning lesson. Yeah. Right. Because as creatives, it's hard to, and I was talking to someone before this where it's hard to like then learn the business end of things sometimes when you're like, oh, okay, well, like I'm just learning how to do photography and I'm just learning how to do the editing and then you're like figuring that out and then you're like, wait, now it's becoming a business. I'm actually getting paid to do this. And then it's like, we can make errors in that. But it's what I hear you saying is, okay, well, we learn from those. Yeah. And then we do it better the next time and then the next time. And we just continue to learn and grow as we are on this journey.
Yeah. I feel like the thing I've probably been really conscious of that's probably helped is I do ask myself, how long have I been stuck here?
That's a good question.
That's helped a lot in the last 10 years is I'm like, because sometimes you can not see progress or you're not booking clients. Yeah. And you're just like, you can get stuck there for a while. So I feel like my self-awareness, I'm almost too self-aware of myself, but it's also worked for me because I do ask myself, how long have I not been doing anything?
Then, okay, so let's just say you answer that question and you're like 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't know, 6 months.
Yeah.
A month. Then what do you do after that?
What's happening? What's going on? What's keeping you stuck here? Like, why do we, what do we not feel worthy of? What's painful? What are you ignoring? Like, if I'm usually, that means I've unplugged from myself and abandoned myself at some point. If I'm that long of not making progress or seeing success in my business, it is a direct relation of I've unplugged myself somewhere.
I think that's really powerful to stop and ask that question.
Yeah.
Because I think, honestly, that's not even just for business. That's personally as well. Because there's personal growth or like benchmarks. If you're not hitting those as well, then that is like an alarm bell in a way. Like where you're like, okay, let's stop. Let's refocus. Yeah. And let's, see where there's areas that I need to pivot. Yeah. Essentially.
And it's also a sign of depression that it's a trigger and an alarm that I learned from my therapist is that I can tend to lose track of time. And that happens to a lot of people that suffer from this is that, so you do have to ask yourself, how long have I been, how long has this been happening? And they can kind of just trick your brain into like, we've got to check in somewhere.
That's a really good point. What story right now are you in the middle of rewriting?
It's actually really good right now. I'm on the end of some real big heartache. It's a story that I can't tell because it's not mine to share. But just some real heartache, and we're rewriting just how to view change, how to view that things are going to they're going to shift. Things are going to get different, and it can be better. But that's what I'm rewriting right now. Is what does that look like for me?
Is there fear? Is there fear there?
I feel
in the rewriting,
literally fear of like, I don't know what the next phase looks like. I have no idea where the stability comes from. I have no idea the new things that I want to reach for, the deeper part of my relationship that I want to jump into, where this is heading. But it feels right, but it's terrifying at the same time.
Wow. So what would you say to people that might be in a similar situation that are navigating this feeling of like, okay, I think this is the next best step, but I'm really struggling with like fear right now. What would you say?
I feel like you gotta have a group of people that you're just honest with. You have to have a team, therapist, psychiatrist, whoever it is for you, girlfriends, but the girlfriends who are not going to be the ones that are be like, I'm sorry that's happening to you, and not really help you. But the ones that have been like, girl, you've been talking about that for 3 years. You've been talking about that for 5 years.
Accountability. We need accountability partners, essentially.
Yeah. So not all your girlfriends are the right ones to talk to, but
Yep.
there are some that will give you a really good kick in the ass, who will literally be the ones that have been like, this is not the first time that you've talked about this. What are we doing?
Yep. And is this a pattern that I keep seeing you make?
Yes. So I feel that is really what is really helping.
What are you, I mean, and this might be similar. So what are you currently grieving or learning to release? Is that the same as the previous question, or does that look different?
I feel that there's a part of me that's grieving the lack of maybe the playfulness as a child that I got to experience. There's a little bit of that happening of like, man.
Did you feel like you got robbed?
I think I did. I did feel like I got robbed. I felt like I had to, see life through a different filter. But I also know that we can start to play now.
And I think that I also can really relate to that. And I feel, and I don't know if you can, relate, but it's like the feeling of being an adult. Sometimes you wear so many freaking hats and you're so bogged down and you have so many things going on. And then we have traumas from our past, and we just sometimes we don't want to play. Sometimes we just want to be sad.
Yes.
And we just want to be mad. And we just want to be, what does play even look like for you? Because I've been feeling a similar tension within myself.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I almost feel like a block between like really like allowing myself to be free. And something that I just got brought to my mind right now was when we were all at Expanders, and they, Priscilla and why am I blanking? Patty. Priscilla and Patty were doing the dancing.
Yes.
And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I hate this. Like, truly, I was like, I actually hate this. I don't want to be a part of it. And I wish I like missed it and didn't come down. And then like we did it and it was fine. And I let it be. And I was trying to do it. Okay. In that moment, even, it was like, why don't I just play? Why do I not want to be like free? Or a better way of framing that is, I'm too scared to look stupid, or I don't want to be embarrassed. And so obviously there has to be something there with my childhood with that. But that was just an example of like what play could look like, right? Doing a dance in front of all these people and like embracing it. And who cares if you look silly? We're all doing it, right?
Yeah.
What does play look like for you now?
I feel like I'm experimenting. I'm in a very similar place.
I don't know. What are we gonna do today?
I mean, I feel like it feels like for me that I've got to get just like I'm used to feeling all the pain and the suffering and the sadness and the struggle and the anxiety, right? I'm really good at like feeling all of those things. Yep. I am also trying to do the playful part of it.
Does that look like maybe a new hobby or something? Yeah,
I was just talking to somebody about this morning. Like, I feel like I kind of want to go country line dancing.
Do it.
Because I feel like that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like taking a stripper class at the same time.
Dude, that is so funny. Do it, girl. Document it. No,
document it. I just feel that somehow getting the movement in my body is where no matter what it is, whether it's a hip hop class or any of those things, but I feel like getting my body moving with energy is probably where I should go.
You know what's so funny that you say hip hop class, because I've been wanting to do a hip hop class. I'm not even joking. And the funny part is, I just said I didn't want to do the dancing with Natalie, with Priscilla and Patty. And but literally it's also because I don't like to feel uncomfortable, but I love the idea of a hip hop class. But I know I'll look stupid, but I have to like push past that to do the play.
Yes.
So it's funny that you mentioned the hip hop. I would love to do that.
Well, we should go. We should do a hip hop class together.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
I think that's like a good reminder though for everyone listening, is that to take that time to play.
Yeah.
To take that time to do things that you might otherwise wouldn't have done. And it's okay if you're not good at it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the entrepreneurial side or if it's the survival technique in us from childhood, where we're like, we have to build armor, and almost like play feels vulnerable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just speaking out loud. Like this isn't like I'm just talking to say like it could be like that. It could feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like in a weird way, the play.
Yeah. I feel that the play doesn't happen for me because I just make myself really busy.
Mm.
I just make myself really busy that I just don't, I'm exhausted from the day, you know? And
Yeah,
I
you're
just,
like, how am I going to add, why? I'm going to add some play in there?
yeah,
During the,
when I'd rather like take a bath and fall asleep,
Uh-huh.
you know? But I feel like the play really is important. So I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, no, I would love to come along for that. What's a question that you wish people would ask more to you, but they don't? Like, even when I was doing these questions, right? Like, what's a question that you're like, I wish people would have asked me this. I wish people would know this about me.
You know, I think that I evoke such confidence that I wish people would ask how this even got started.
What?
Because
your business or just you?
Just me in general. Like it has been really hard to get to this couch. I did not grow up like feeling confident my whole life. I have literally practiced and practiced and practiced, put myself out there, been knocked down, got back up again over and over and over again. It is a lot of resilience and a lot of just believing in myself that has really gotten me to this place. And I feel like people don't ask me that question because I think they just like,
that's who you are.
That's who I am. She's bubbly. She's confident. She's all these things. When
you're like, I had to practice this
a lot. I had to practice a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think people view confidence as practicing. They think you're born with, I think a lot of people think you're born with confidence. And I think that that's further from the truth. It's
so far.
You have to literally like almost embody it and continue to show up time and time again when you don't feel confident. And then that's what makes the confidence.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's scary. I'm actually more scared than I am confident most of the time.
If you could go back to 10-year-old Monica and sit with her on the bed and just maybe hold her, what would you tell her?
I recently had this in therapy where I did this like regression therapy where you talk to her. And actually she doesn't want to be talked to right now. She actually just wants you to sing to her. There is something really sacred about what's happening between my relationship with me and her right now. I feel like she's been told a lot. She's been told a lot in her lifetime. And my job now as her adult is to just sit next to her and just wait till she's ready. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And the thing I recently told her is that we made it. We made it out.
What do you think that she would say, or what has she said when she sees you and Girl Squad media?
I haven't been asked that question. I think that I think that although she's not talking, because she's not talking right now, I think that
but if she could,
when she does,
yeah,
she's telling me an energy. I think that she's happy to have so many playmates. I think she's happy that she gets to play around and that she gets to create and that she gets to be outside and she gets to be on the ocean and see the sunset. And we get to still kind of play grown-up Barbie.
There we go.
Right? We wear clothes. I think she'd be, I think she's happy in the play.
I think that's a great connection. It is like a grown-up Barbie, what you do.
Yeah.
Because you are, capturing women and men, but like primarily like women, and making them feel beautiful and capturing them in such a lovely way. And I'm sure, and, oozing confidence for them, for your subjects.
Yeah.
Where you just said that it took a lot of work for you to get to, but the people in front of the camera, they're not always, in front of the camera, they're not always confident. So now look at you now being a catalyst of confidence for other people. I think is crazy and amazing. Crazy amazing.
Yeah.
With Girl Squad Media, do you feel like that's like your like baby in a way?
Yeah. I feel that what's been beautiful to see, and I feel like that's what's exciting about being an entrepreneur is that you can wait for the change, right? Because we're rewriting change, is that you can wait for the change to happen. And there is a big shift because I've had to go through my own form of transformation. And that's really what I witness.
Yeah.
When women step in front of my camera, it is transformation.
Yeah.
And that my job is for the world to never forget that.
Mm.
My job is to make sure to do such a great job capturing you and whatever you're doing that you never forget and the world never forgets about the moment in time that you were here. And that every woman's presence is sacred. There is ceremony in what happens when I take my pictures. And that is something I've never talked about that way. I've never really felt that way until like the last couple of months, that this isn't just content creation. This is liberation.
There you go.
That this is not about vanity. This is about visibility and that you deserve to be seen.
I think that that's huge. I think that a lot of women don't feel like they deserve to be seen.
No, they don't.
You know? And I think that the capturing of a woman in her true essence, or just with the makeup, and she feels so pretty with the, you know, her clothes, and the light hit just right. And she's just, even if she doesn't post it, and she just looks at, she's like, wow, that's her. Like,
that's right.
She's done that. She's overcame. She's done these things.
Yeah.
She's, you know, got back up when she was knocked back down. And I think that's powerful. And I think we don't think of photography most times, or if someone's reaching out to you to do an event, they're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm hiring her to capture that. They're not thinking that necessarily, but they might when they receive those photos. And even maybe in this conversation, we can reframe even what photography and videography really does mean, and capture. And when we're talking about capturing images, if you could capture one image that represents who you are right now, not what you do, but who you are, what would be in that frame?
I feel that I'm in a hallway full of like warm wood, like mahogany floor, mahogany walls, mahogany ceiling. There's a beautiful glowing light. The sun is coming through. There's a hint of a breeze. I feel like I'm just sitting in it. I'm just sitting
basking in the sun.
Yeah. I feel like life right now is interesting, warm, changing, optimistic, scary, all at the same time.
Yeah. Wow. That's a beautiful. You know what's interesting is you said hallway, and it's interesting because you said hallway when you were walking down to the hallway with your dad, to your dad's room. And I wonder if that's a reframe for you, like redefining that.
It could be. It could be a reframe. It could be a reframe of sitting in a different hallway with a different
perspective, a different life.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
In this season, what does healing look like for you? Is it meeting with your therapist that you mentioned? Is it just being outdoors and just sitting in that actual light? Is it traveling? What does that look like? What does it look like?
Healing for me really means that I have to literally put myself first before anyone else. Like my healing is almost like sobriety in and of itself. I know there's a lot of people that are in AA or do something like that. Yeah. And they're constantly being told that you have to pick your sobriety first. It comes before anything.
It does.
And that there is so much sacredness in that I actually love what they do, that I have also wanted to like
go to some classes.
Like, how do I put my healing first? You know, because I put a lot of other things before that. But I feel like that's what it looks like now is how do we just put ourselves first here in front of everything? And not that I get it right, but it's better than what it was.
I think it's so beautiful. You've like touched on so many powerful points that will cause like the listeners and myself to like pause during our day. I think definitely with play, definitely with when you're feeling stuck, like asking yourself, how long have I been here? I loved that. And for me, I'm going to go sign up for the hip hop class. So I hope that the other listeners are feeling encouraged and really just inspired by your message and vulnerability. And so thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yay! Yay! Thank you for listening to Shift Happens. You are the reason I started this podcast. I hope it finds the ears and hearts of those who need it so that you know your voice matters and you are reminded that someone needs to hear your story. As always, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And I'll see you next week.